down this end. So in here, the side door is great, except there's two things. One, in the past, when I've had Evos, they slide out, which is great. Oh, there we go, the dog's happy. But with the North Bank, it's a folding door, which is a lot easier to use. The problem is this. All of a sudden, I want to reach the fish. Oh, I can't do it. So it actually restricts my space and cuts it down that we have to work in that corner and not this corner here. Going forward, I'm going to try and find pins that this slides out. The other thing too is about the door is that traditionally they come with a stainless plate on the outside that sits up about so high. Now that's great, but for us bringing fish in and for diving, getting in and out, we opted not to do it. The problem we get with that is without that plate, it leaks a bit. Pulling a big swordfish or a big tuna in, it's bloody hard work. Ords and I did it, so Ords caught a 160 kilo sword, and we did it between us, just with a double pulley system. So if you want to see more about that, make sure you message below and tell us, and we'll show you how we set up the pulley system, how we use it to pull fish in, or go and watch some of the swordfish videos we've got on the YouTube channel as well. So, rightio, side door's awesome. I'm not a massive fan of the handles on the side of the boat because I like to sit on the side of the boat. They take it out. Some people love it, some don't, and when Ords goes through it in a minute or two, I reckon she'll change her opinion on that. She loves it. So, rod holders, we put an extra under there. They're all stock standard. We've got the straighter rod holders, or straight rod holders at 90 degrees, only because for us, we want it where we use a lot of bent butts. So it's a lot easier for that style. Rightio, going underneath. So, these are the things we've changed. Firstly, I'll pull out this in here. Rightio. Mate, you can have that behind your bum there. So you center, I've got 300 litre main tank, and it's not big enough for the style of fishing we do. We need an extra tank, which I'm going to show you in a minute. The other part was that this sat right back another 150, 200 mil, this center board. So I've actually cut this off, and now it gives me a lot better access down in the bilge. And it's something you can't, if you can't reach them, because I'm running 4 transducers in there, water separators in there, there's pickups in there, there's a lot of stuff going on down there. So having more room to access and with an overhang, it was a bloody nuisance. So we cut that off to make that easier. Bloody unreal. Running 3 batteries because we're running so many electronics. Now, the other thing we've done is that I've run twin bilge pumps down there. It's got the auto bilge, which is always an issue. Like, it drives me mad and they always break. So I ran a second one on the same pump system, so they're wired together to do it. So if there's dog hair, fishing line braid that blows your pump up, you still got a second pump running. The second thing that's important for that is I run a spare pump, and all boats should have these, a spare pump up the front at 1500 litre per hour, which has a pair of alligator clips. So if one of these pumps blow down and we've got water in there, just clip them straight on and it's going. So I've put in a second fuel tank up the front, which we're going to show you now, which runs down to the tank there, or the tap there. So now this is normally a cavity, which is realistically a waste of time. If I had my way, I'd actually run the fuel tank all the way up through there. So what I've done is put in a second fuel tank. Now that's an extra 40 litres, not massive. I was going to originally put in a custom built one, which really I'll probably get about 55, 60 litres in there. It was going to be well over $1,000 to do. For that, I just bought one for $250 and just rigged it up myself. It runs through, the wire hose goes straight through down to the tap down the back there, so I can chop and change from the main tank. The important thing is I now have the ability to run 2 separate tanks. So if you have a fuel issue or something else, switch your tanks over. So good for, especially for long range, you've got an extra 40 as a backup, because realistically we should come home with, I don't know, spare 35, 40%. That's what I like running home on. And now I've got an extra 40 litres. Now one other thing, oh, the dog's back in the door. Just let me, watch out Mahi. Can you move for a sec for us? Come on, watch your birds. Just watch them for the birds. Is that we spoke about the door, but we didn't highlight what we've done. So again, this is a bit of space that's not really utilised. As you can see, all the lures and everything ready to get washed. We put them in a little container there, ready to get washed every time we go fishing, so everything's looked after. But this is the good part. On the back of the door here, Ords and I made our own little bait station. Now, I opted not to have a bait board on the back, only because when we're fighting fish that it's a bit high, it's a bit unco, you know, just trying to get over the back of the engine, all that and this. So I took it out. And finally, but not least, the donk. Verado 250 horsepower, which is 4.6 litre naturally aspirated, and I tell you, it is the best engine I've owned. I've never had a white engine before, and when they put it on, I'm like, oh yeah, that looks cool. But it got even better. As I was saying earlier on, they've put on this accent panels, which is to customise your engine, which I thought, you know, don't need that. I thought this engine looked good before. Now it looks insane. So, naturally aspirated. For me, my fuel economy has dropped down. What we'll do is we'll start running so you can see this puppy in action. I top out about 42 knots, 43 knots if I've got no fuel in it, and I'm only running at 80 litres an hour. Now, my previous engine, by another manufacturer, I was running at 100 litres an hour to do 43 knots. That's 20% saving at top end. So now my trolling speed has gone from 16, 17 litres an hour down to 8 to 10, 10 to 11 generally, depends on the current. So not only am I saving a lot, especially now with fuel prices going through the roof again, I have a lot better range. I can go further to sea and push it further. With all these electronics, let's just go to Lord Howe Island. Come on, let's make this happen. We're running a 17-inch prop there at the moment. We've got a 3-blade. I want to bump it up to a 4-blade down the track. One of their Vengeance props, which are arguably one of the best props on the market. With the Verado, it's slightly heavier than the standard Merc because the steering is built in. So it's all part of it. I absolutely love it. It's the performance, the mid-range. For crossing a bar, the torque on this puppy is insane. I'm now onto my 4th Merc. This one's already done 500 hours, faultless. They've come so far ahead that they are now well ahead of the pack, and this is the best engine on the market in my view at this time. It's also important to remember that we've used all the engines, and at times some engines are great, but remember, the technology chops and changes, and what Mercury done is they've got all the tech, put it into this, and that's the result. And you know the best part, above all else, what I love? It's bloody quiet. It's running now, you can barely hear it. You don't have to, like in the past, we had actually engines, 4-strokes, that we had to turn off to do the pieces to camera. Not with this puppy. I didn't know it's running half the time. We turn on the start of the day, we turn off at the end of the day. So, with no further ado, why don't we put Ords on the camera first?
So I started game fishing on bigger boats, and I must admit I was spoilt as far as the comfort of the ride, etc. I'd liken this North Bank to the bigger boats that I've been on, not necessarily size-wise, but the simple comfort level. She's a heavier boat. That 1400 kgs just keeps you heavy in the water. She rides like a much bigger boat, so I'm a bit prone to seasickness sometimes, and she's just beautiful for me. I would say something Elle may not have mentioned is the bars that are around the boat. I find are fantastic. As I said, I'm filming with one hand at least, or I'm trying to get out of the way of somebody whilst I'm filming, and I find it's easy for me to maneuver around. No matter how big the ocean is, there's always a bar for me to grab hold of. These Oh My God handles are fantastic, whether it's the ride in or the ride out on some very lumpy seas. They are brilliant. The bars that the boys have got around, I really like because they've given me something to hold on to. And we can't go by without mentioning how much room there is in the cabin. I know Elle mentioned we've lost the walk around space, but we can pack 5 big guys in here and I can still squeeze my way around and get into my corner if that's where I want to be. Or we've had little Ollie on the seat, we've had 3 guys up the front, we've had 2 of us layered in the back, and there is room for us to stand just behind the seat as well for the ride in and out, and it makes a massive difference. So plenty of room in the cabin, and that is a massive bonus. I love that cabin when we're camping out as well, I have to admit. The side panelling that North Bank have put in, as you can see, I can get hooks up and out of the way and off the deck really quickly. I think it's fantastic. Sorry, Rob, if it's not what it's meant for, but I find it's fantastic. There's, as I said before, somewhere for everything to go. We can have 2 people getting up onto the deck. We can be pulling people through the hatch. We can be doing all of that, and there's room to move on the deck. We've got places to push things. We've got a niche for everything. So the boat has plenty of space for what we require it to do, and we're doing more than the average fishing trip as well. The U deck, once again, back to that, if it's covered in the inners of a fish, and there can be some pretty rugged stuff comes out of some of those fish and a lot of blood, this stuff just washes clean. One other thing, if I can quickly mention it, if we swing around this way, Al's mentioned the door here, but this little baby, so when the boys are coming through there, and we've all been in the water diving, when the boys are coming through there and I'm trying to get up gracefully, I come on the back ladder. This is so easy, whether I hop over the top of it or come straight through the middle of it. I love this. This is an absolute godsend for somebody like me, because pulling myself over the side of the boat's not always going to be a very graceful thing for me to do.
Okay, what a fight. A bit of a dog at the end there, but Trips now did well then, we got it.
Oh man. Big thing, how does this boat perform? Well, for me the big thing is, it's a heavy boat, which I love. So you got the 250, so that punches along, that's the maximum you can run. We get about, as I was saying, about 43 knots out of it, flat stick, and that's for about 82 litres an hour. For trolling, we sit at around 10 litres for about 7 knots, which a lot of people troll at 8 knots. For me, I like to sit about 7. And as you can see, if we punch it up now, don't want oars to fall out of the boat. There you go. The mid-range torque is insane. And the important part with that is that if we're crossing a bar or in a shitty sea, when you want the power, because a lot of boats are very sluggish, you know, you got to go and you go, especially with this, it's a heavy boat. The only thing I would say with it is that traditionally Australian built, there's no flare on the bow, so they do tend to get a bit wet, which is all Australian built boats seem to have that tendency. For us it doesn't matter, we're fully enclosed, but I wouldn't like it if I was doing it with clears. It's the same as all the boats I've had. The Evo, which is quite interesting, did have a bit of flare, was better, but it banged. This boat doesn't bang at all, and this is one of the big things. You gain one thing, you lose another, so with all boats, you've got to take it with a grain of salt. It's really important. So, the Evo had a great fishing platform, but it banged going to sea. So, you'll gain one thing, you lose one thing, and remember, you're in a 6.5 metre boat, you're not in a massive boat, you're only a little boat. So you can't have everything. Everything is a compromise in these boats. So we've caught some awesome fish in this boat already, especially the big swords, you know, 280 kilo, 270 kilo swords. Ord's got a 160 in there. We've caught big tuna, we've caught kings, marlin we've done pretty good on as well. So we've still got a bit further to go. Sorry Mahi, I didn't mean to annoy you there. We've still got more to go, and I'm excited about this season ahead because it's just going to get bigger and better, and we're really customising this boat to exactly what we want. So if you want to know more about it, message below, ask questions, we'll do more about it, we'll tell you what you want. If you want to know the little intricate details, or if there's bits you want us to expand on, comment below. And of course, remember to like the videos, we've got to do more of them. And what we might even do is get other people with their boats and start showing you what they've done and how they've customised it, so everyone can get Tom with his Contender, we can get Rob with North Bank to get some of the other guys who got North Banks and show you what they've done that's separate to ours. But as for now, it's time to go fishing. Oh, remember, subscribe.